Okay, statistics students, we kind of begin our very last quest, week 8. Thank you for your efforts. And we're going to kind of have a fun lesson during this time. You're going to calculate something that's unique about you. What we want to do is calculate a percentile. And it's in order to do that, we need what's called a z-score. And this is our formula. And I'll show you what it all means. But let's just kind of, get a general idea here of what we're talking about. So, we're going to talk about height of people. So, let's say that this is the height of a average person, an average male, we'll say, in the United States. Okay. Then where would Mr. Gens fit into that? Well, we would say that he would be probably shorter, right? Okay, maybe not quite that short. That's a little bit ridiculous, but probably that short. Our good friend Jack Jellinger, he might be, more like that. Okay, Jack apparently has very short arms in this video, yeah, there we go. Okay, so the idea is that where would I fit, and where I would fit on this curve is I would probably fit somewhere off to this side. And, Jack would fit somewhere off to this side. So what does that mean, though? And what that means is I am taller than, say, 20% of other adult males in the United States, whereas Jack might be taller than, say, 90% of other males in the United States. And so that's kind of what we're going to try to figure out. So we're going to do two examples. We're going to actually take my height first. And what you need is this. You need to calculate mu. And mu is the average height. And in the United States, the information that I looked up tells me that the average height of a U.S. male is 70 inches. Okay? And the standard deviation is going to be 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches. So that's part of what we talked about yesterday. Z is simply the number of standard deviations. That's all it is. So how many standard deviations am I from the mean? I might be 1, I might be 2, and my value is going to be negative because I'm to the left, whereas Jack's going to be positive because he's to the right. Okay, so we have Z is equal to x minus 70 divided by sigma, or 3. Now, what is x? Well, that's going to be your height. Now, again, this is just for guys. So for me, I'm 5 feet 8 inches. Now, 5 feet is 60 inches plus 8. That's going to be 68. So my z-score is equal to 68 minus 70 divided by 3. If I take my calculator and I divide that out, I get negative 0.6667. That's what I get. Okay? That's very important. That's my z-score. And now we're going to turn that into a percentile. Once we have a z-score, that means that, so I'm not all the way over here at -1. I'm probably more like, say right here, okay, negative 0.667. But there's a correlating area, and that's your percentile, that shows me exactly what percent of people am I taller than. And so if you looked on Schoology, you would have found these z-tables. And what's interesting about these z-tables is there's one that's positive. So we'll show you one right here. You can see that these z-scores are all positive right here, so like 0.6. So I want to put that one aside. And also, as you look at here, all the positive ones, those are going to be to this side. So the positive ones are going to be to this side. So that's going to be greater than 50%. And as you look at all these tables values, you can see that they're all bigger than 50%. You get down in here, we get to the 90s and so on and so forth. Well, let's check this out. Okay. I was a negative 0.66. So as you look at this, I can find here I'm at negative 0.6, and that's to the 10th. Then to the 100th, you've got to go down this chart. So negative 0.66, and I was closer to 7, so we're going to be this one right here, negative 0.67. So I look for the intersection of those two. Negative 0.67 is going to bring me here and here to 0.2514. So my percentile is 25.14%. That means that if you go across the United States and you look at adult men, I am taller than about 25 out of 100 of them, okay? Or 1 out of every 4 approximately, okay? So that's what it brings me to. All right? And that's what you're going to do for your assignment, okay? We'll do one more example. What you're going to do is you're going to write down the mean. This one will be for girls, okay? We're going to do this one for girls. So the mean is, for girls, is 64.5. And the standard deviation for girls is 2.5. Now, my wife is almost as tall as me. She's a ½ inch shorter. So for her, she is exactly 67.5 inches tall. 67.5 inches tall. Now, guys, don't just guess. Actually try to measure yourself and without shoes so you can see realistically where you're at. So we're going to calculate her z-score, and that's going to be her height, 67.5, minus the average, 64.5, divided by the standard deviation, 2.5. So girls, you're going to use those numbers. Guys, you're going to use those numbers, okay? And we just plug it into this formula. X minus mu divided by sigma. So X was 67.5, mu was 64.5, sigma was 2.5. I'm going to take out my calculator. As I do, I get 3 over 2.5. 3 over 2.5. So that's going to be 3 divided by 2.5 on my calculator, 1.2. We write it out to the 100th spot. So that's the z-score, okay? So my wife has a z-score of 1.2. I had a z-score of negative 0.667. That doesn't mean that she's taller than me. It means that her percentile for women is higher than my percentile for men. So we're going to go ahead. Now I need to look at the positive chart. So before I had the negative chart, now I grab the positive one. And you can see I go to the 1.2. And then remember, it was 1.20. So I grab the 0 part and I go down and I select this grouping right here and I get 88.49. So percentile, 88.49%. Okay? So your assignment is to do that on a sheet of paper. Tell me your plans for next year. Mine are to teach math at ALHS. Then go ahead and take a picture of that and email it to kevin.gens@alschools.org. And that's your assignment. Hope you guys have had a good time. Just do that one thing, and we should be good to go. Thanks for being a great class, and hopefully I'll see you all at graduation. Later.